The Archangel Chronicles, Chapter 16, On Eagle's Wings. Adam. I was captive several times in my lifetime, even before I was brought to this time and place. The first time was by human forces, who put me in a seclusion from which I was freed by archangels, in a way that was beyond my understanding and intellect. They brought me to this strange, lovely, and beautiful world of wonders, giving me a new life with meaning and purpose. The second time was when I was kidnapped and turned over to the power of the Red Scythian Queen, Panopleus, she who is worthy of armor, the fierce tigress of the steppes, the huntress, the warrior queen, she of terrible beauty, who fancied that I should become her husband. She held me captive just as surely as if she had wrapped me in chains and surrounded me with walls. It was she who brought me to another part of this strange world. Whether she acted against the will of the Almighty and his servant archangels in transporting me here, or whether I was part of their plan all along and Axia was a mere instrument, remains to be seen. But at this moment, I knew that answers would come, for the message was plain to be seen in the skies. Here we were, sitting on our sturdy steppe horses atop the kurgan, the burial mound arising like a great hillock above the surrounding flat plain. The sun had begun its climb across a brilliant blue sky. The surrounding grasslands were splashed with intense colors, deep red, magenta, purple, blues, and pristine whites, forming a floral carpet covering the plain. The spring blooms came during the short period of time after the bitter winter thaw and the withering heat of the summer months. This colorful, sun-kissed carpet rolled right up to the entrance to the tomb, a large, wedge shape cut out of the side of the kurgan, lined with blocks of stone. I was not alone on the summit of the great kurgan. which rose more than 100 meters above the surrounding plain. This was a man-made hill, prepared for the burial of a great king. Beside me, to my left, was my still faithful friend and erstwhile betrayer, Scarus. After a long, painful period of travel here, he finally looked comfortable seated on his horse, dressed in full armor, gleaming steel helmet, crested with blue and white horsehair, and a blood-red military cloak wrapped around him. To my right was my Vasilisa, the tigress of the steppes, Axia, mounted on her splendid white stallion. Far to the west, close to the horizon, was that mysterious blue light which blazed forth as it had all night. The full morning sunlight only slightly diminished its brilliance. This pillar of light throbbed like a blinding white-hot fire, sometimes like water, quicksilver and flowing, sometimes a swirling rush of flames, and then like waterfalls, soaring and flying like molten birds on wing, and then settling down to a shimmering brightness. All the shaman, the mages, the wise men of this land were stunned by the apparition. They speculated that it was by turns a great star, a comet, a harbinger of change and danger. But I knew with certainty what this light was, for I had seen it long ago when I was first imprisoned. This was Gabriel the Archangel, come to fetch us forth from the ends of the earth. A shadow passed between us and the rising sun, and a large raptor, swifter than lightning, flashed before us, turning and spiraling upwards, borne by a rising column of air. A piercing scream cut the quiet morning like a knife. Eo, Eo, Eo. This was Zephyros announcing his presence, and I knew that his master, Targetus, child of the sky god, would not be far off. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, casting my mind's eye back years earlier to the time that my friend Scarus delivered me into the captivity of the Scythian Queen. That fateful day was so vivid in my imagination, I could travel back to it and be there. It was 3 months from the time of the Great Assembly. The time had passed swiftly. I was occupied assembling equipment and supplies that would be needed for the long voyage, and arranging for its storage in 2 weather-protected cases for packing on the ships being assembled at Arasoni. My intentions were to leave Abu and his 2 ferreted companions in mischief, Atlas and Calliope, behind in the charge of Melissa, our housekeeper. But Abu was persistent and pestered me every day not to leave him behind. Kyrios, you cannot leave us. Who would be your assistant? Who is better than me in serving you? I have learned so much, he would say. Nothing I said could dissuade him. I would rather die than be left alone again, he whimpered one day. Kyrios, Atlas, Calliope, and I saved your life. Is this how you repay us? You're not playing fair, Abu. Where we are going is very dangerous. You are happy here. You are well looked after. You will not be alone. I will come back, but you will be safe when I am gone. But what if that pirate Drago comes back? You told me it was he who threw the serpent in the basket into our house. What if he comes back looking for us? Would you abandon me to be enslaved again? Abu, you are closer to me than anyone in the world, but you must stop this. The truth is, I was feeling guilty, and Abu had proven his value time and time again. That night, as I sat quietly by the fire in our home, thinking of all the preparations being made for our trip, my mind turned to Raphael. It had been a very long time since I had seen him. I craved his presence. There was a noise beside me, a soft waft of air, and a wicker chair creaked as a body sat in it. I turned, and there he was, gray eyes staring into the fire, just like me, his gray hood pulled over his head. "Raphael," I exclaimed, overjoyed to see my friend and guide. He looked at me and smiled. "Peace I bring to you, Adam, chosen one." "Where have you been?" I cried. "By heaven, I have missed you. Beyond all words. I was afraid you'd abandoned me for good." He sighed. "I've been to many places and seen many things since we last spoke. I have returned to the presence of the Most High in blissful adoration, singing the song of the universe. I have been dispatched to watch the enemy and his rulers, his authorities, the cosmic powers of darkness descending from their principalities. There are great things afoot, Adam, and I have come to warn you." "Warn me? Why? Am I in danger? Is Abu in danger? What about Sophia?" "Adam, my friend and chosen one, that day long ago when you were brought to this time on the banks of the great river of life, you accepted a part in the struggle. That path which you freely accepted is not an easy one. You contend, though you do not yet see it fully, against the powers of darkness in this physical world. And the way is very hard. The journey is long and lonely. You will be taxed to the limits of your nerve and sinew. You will be asked to suffer much and sacrifice more. You will face a beast far greater than that noble but ugly fish you pulled out of the dark waters of the Nile. But you have a choice. So I must ask you yet again, are you willing to bear the burden, no matter what it is, no matter what the cost, or do you wish to return from whence you came?" "Mission? What is my mission, Raphael?" I asked, turning to him earnestly. "Since I have come here, I have found danger, discomfort, but also love and commitment and a purpose beyond myself. I am a healer, and I want to serve. I have found the meaning on this path. But is this my mission? If it is, then without hesitation, without regret, I embrace it with all my heart." "Adam, the Most High has smiled on you. You have grown in wisdom and begin to see, if only distantly, the shape of the truth, the foundation of everything that is good and holy. But there is much more to be done. There is much more you will suffer to ascend to the union with the Holy One. But you must take this path willingly." "What must I suffer? What must I do?" I asked. "It is not for me to tell you, but for you to accept the cup that will be given to you and drink from it freely. This is an act of faith on your part," he said softly, hand on my shoulder. "But I will tell you this. You will be separated from those you love most. You will travel to desolate lands far away. You will see the enemy in all his power and wickedness. You will be tested. You will be alone. If you accept this, you will be one of the elect. But nothing will ever be the same again. The Spirit will come upon you with gifts of wisdom and power. You will confront the powers of the dark world and the struggle against their manifestation in the earthly realms. I and my brethren will be with you. We were silent for a long time. I looked into the heart of the flames in the hearth and thought deeply. Well now, I said at last, why me? Why now? I have no special powers, other than through the gift of language from that sash you gave me, and the power to see darkness from the metal I retrieved from the mouth of the fish, I said, clutching the Cairo medal that hung around my neck. Adam, my friend, I tell you this. You have been given some insight into the powers of darkness, but only a tiny one. If you could peer into the depth of the abyss, the utter darkness, and the inscrutable despair, it would destroy you. You are blessed only to be able to see but a little. What I have seen is frightening enough, I nodded. But you will see much more in time. But you will be given the strength to endure it. I turned to face the gray-robed figure and knelt before him. I bowed my head, forehead touching the floor. I accept this mission, whatever it is. I will drink this cup. I surrender to it with all my heart. Give me the strength to persist. Raphael stood, and putting his hands to my shoulders, raised me to my feet. He looked deeply into my eyes. Adam, from the birth of your spirit, you were blessed with courage in abundance. That great virtue will see you through. Then he sighed. And when the time comes, you must take Abu with you. His destiny lies with you. Although he will be taken from you for a while, I know he has been pestering you not to leave him here. I shouldn't be surprised you know this, I smiled. Why won't you show yourself to him? Raphael sat back down and gestured to me to do the same. The firelight flickered, illuminating the room in a deeply pleasing golden glow. It is not yet his time, said Raphael. But he has great gifts, and he will be tested as well. I think that you will be surprised by him. But one day, I promise you, my friend, another of my order will go to him in the name of the Most High. Raphael leaned back in his chair and stretched his arms. He put his feet up. And now, my friend, let us enjoy the peace of this warm fire in your splendid home. I gazed at the fire and fell fast asleep. I woke up with a start at dawn. The fire had grown cold, and Raphael was gone. I went to Abu's room. He was awake, rolling a small colored ball and watching Atlas and Calliope chase after it, tumbling over each other in riotous pursuit. All right, I said. If I were to bring you with me, you have to swear to attend your studies and obey my commands without question. Of course, Kyrios, Abu exclaimed, hopping around in excitement. The two ferrets were at his feet, looking up at him expectantly. "And you have to keep those two little thieves in line, and you will clean up after their messes," I chimed. Oh yes, anything you command, Kyrios." Scarus had not been the same since the Great Assembly. He was summoned to the prefecture several times and returned downcast. He wouldn't tell me what was bothering him. I had assumed he had been given his marching orders to rejoin his cohort for the long sea voyage. "Don't be sad, Scarus, my friend. You'll have more important things to do than guard this mere physician's body," I said. Scarus grumbled and looked away. "Scarus, is it really all that bad to be rid of me?" I asked. He didn't answer and walked away. Over the next while, he avoided my company and refused to look at me in the eye. I began to feel uneasy. He sat alone and wouldn't eat with us either. I knew something was troubling him, but frankly, I was too busy myself to take the time to get to the bottom of it. One evening, I sat with Sophia on the terrace of her apartment, taking in the salty night air with the flame of Pharos, the great lighthouse casting its flickering light over the quiet waters of the harbor below. "Tell me, my lady, does Scarus seem upset or unhappy to you?" "Scarus?" she asked. "Why, I have scarcely had a moment to speak to him. I don't think I have seen him the last fortnight. No doubt he's too busy preparing to depart. Why do you ask?" "He's been avoiding me, I think. Something is wrong. He will not tell me what the problem is, but I sense that he is distressed." "How long has this been going on?" she asked. "Since shortly after the Great Assembly. A week later he was summoned to the prefecture. When he came back, he was as white as a ghost, but he wouldn't talk about it. Then I too got very busy making our preparations, and I left it. But his behavior has not changed. He remains aloof and hasn't said 2 words to me. I am actually very worried about him." "I shall have a word with him, Adam. And if anyone else should know his mind, it may be Camilla. He has grown very fond of her, I think." Sophia came to me and put her hands on my shoulders. "Tell me, Adam, anyone from nowhere, what troubles you? You have said scarcely a word since supper, and you have not asked me even one of your odd questions in many days. Something is troubling you also, I think." "As always, my lady, you see right through me. I'm an open book to you," I said, putting my hands over hers and pulling her to me. "Please have a seat, for I do need to tell you something." She sat down beside me on the stone bench next to the balustrade and looked deeply into my eyes. "Adam, you're not going to try to dissuade me from coming on this mission again, are you?" "No, my lady, I know better. Your mind is set on this, and I simply must obey." "Obey?" she chuckled. "Is that what you call it?" "No, my most admirable lady, my love. I come not to dissuade you now, but to warn. I was visited last night by Raphael." She immediately straightened up, paying close attention to me. "Raphael? How? Why? Is there danger? What did he tell you?" "He came to warn me, but as usual, he wasn't specific about it. Yes, there is danger. I have a mission, but I do not know exactly what I will be asked to do. But he said we will be tested. He said there is much to come, and we will be taken to places we may not wish to go. But I accepted, without hesitation and without remorse. He brought me to a new life once, and brought me back to this life a second time in the Cobra incident. I will follow, but there is more. Sophia held her breath and put her hand to my face. Is it about us? I nodded slowly. Yes, I think so. We may be parted. I do not know how or why, but on this voyage, we may be separated for a while. Sophia stood, shaken at the balustrade, looking down at the harbor. Am I to be left alone again then? She whispered. I stood up, went over to her, standing behind her and drawing my arms around her waist. My most admirable lady, my gentle soulmate, nothing in heaven or earth shall stand between us. I give you my holy oath that no matter what happens, no matter what powers that seek to hold us apart, I will come back to you. That I do promise. We stood silent for a long time. Finally I spoke. Now let us rest this night, for we are together here and now, in this time and place. No matter where we go, or what lies before us, or how long we are apart, we will be here again, just like this. Sophia turned and put her arms around me, resting her head on my shoulder. Adam, I am afraid. I think that you should be very wary of Scarus. He seems to know something, and he may be the key to this. Finally, the day of our departure arrived. I had arranged for Melissa to stay in our house and paid a bodyguard to ensure there were no disruptions in our household while we were away. All of my equipment and gear was packed and loaded onto a wagon. Another carriage, spacious and decorated on its exterior with wooden carvings of a large fish, courtesy of the prefect, arrived to transport Abu and I to Arizona, or so I thought. It was to be several days' journey hence. Abu bade a tearful farewell to her housekeeper, Melissa. Scarus was waiting for us outside, standing beside the carriage, holding the door open. He was fully dressed now in his centurion's armor and crested steel helmet with red military cloak. He stood at attention. Abu and I climbed in. I stopped just as I was mounting the step up to the door into the belly of the fish-shaped carriage. Scarus, you look very impressive today. Back to the legions, I see. He averted his eyes and would not look at me. He answered my question with a nod of his head. I stopped, put my hand on his shoulder, and tilted my head to catch his eye. Scarus, dear friend, what is it? What is troubling you? He could do no more than to shake his head slowly. Catching his eye, I could see tears welling up. He turned quickly away. Now I placed both hands on his massive shoulders, and with an effort, turned him fully before me. Scarus, something is wrong. I see it in your eyes. If you are carrying a burden, let me share it. You know that I would do anything for you. Let me in. Let me help you. Scarus shuddered and visibly shrank back upon himself. He was silent for a long time. At length, he grabbed my hands by the wrists. He knelt before me, face averted, and whispered, so that only I could hear. May the gods forgive me, but I have sworn a sacred oath to do my duty. Cursed be on those who ill-use my oath for their own purposes. I say to ye, physician, Dominus, that there never 'twas a finer man come across me path than ye. I would die for ye, but I cannot betray my oath and my duty. Forgive me for what I'm about to do. I beg ye. Scarus stood up, grasped me by the shoulders, and propelled me up the steps into the fish-shaped carriage and into the interior where he let me go. I tumbled in and got to my feet, turning around just in time to see the door clang shut. I rushed to the window, shaped like a fisheye, and saw Scarus fumbling with the key, turning it to lock the door. "Scarus! Scarus!" I shouted. "What is going on? Where am I going? Tell me, my friend." Scarus stood there, tears now streaming down his scarred face. He stepped up to the door. "Forgive me, Dominus," he cried as he reached up and closed the leather flap over the door window. So now I was back in a cell again, after all, enveloped by the same semi-darkness, in the shaded interior of the fish-shaped coach, as it began to clutter and move down the paved streets of Alexandria. I had come full circle and was a captive yet again. But this time, I was not alone. Abu groped for me in the semi-darkness of the moving carriage, whimpering and hugging me. From his pockets sprang the two ferrets running around the inside of the carriage, exploring all its dim nooks and crannies, looking for an exit. "Kyrie! Kyrie!" Abu cried. "What is happening? Why is Scarus so mean to you? Where are we going?" Raphael's words came back to me, and I was comforted. I had, after all, chosen this path freely, and I had to accept what came. There was no turning back. I thought of Sophia, and my heart sank. I sat back on the cushions inside our now mobile cave and sighed, accepting the inevitable. I do not know, Abu. We must be patient and wait. All will be made clear to us. But I am afraid, Kyrios. So am I, Abu, but I cannot believe they mean to hurt us. And we have each other no matter what happens. And I tell you, we will have the angels with us. With that, I sat back on the cushions, inside as the moving fish-shaped carriage shuffled, pitched, and clattered down unknown streets to where I knew not. For 3 days and 3 nights, Abu and I sat in the gloom of our moving chamber, windows closed and latched from the outside. The pitching and rolling of the carriage, the vibration of the wheels, the clattering of hooves, and the sensation of careening around tight curves at speed like a great fish in the deep, told me that we were moving rapidly toward an unknown destination. Inside our mobile cocoon, Abu and I passed the time. At first we said little. After much time, fear and anxiety gave way to boredom. After a time, to keep our spirits up, I began to sing every song I could think of. After I had chimed as many verses of "I've Been Working on the Railroad" and "The Good Ship Titanic," and finished all 100 verses of 100 bottles of beer on the wall, Abu asked me abruptly, "Kyrios, I cannot understand the meaning of those words. Where do they come from?" "They come from my childhood, Abu, from a time when I was about your age. Where I come from, Parents send their children to a place called a summer camp, where we would sing these songs around a campfire or in tents and play games. "What is a summer camp?" he asked. "It's a place where we were sent to have fun, to make friends, to accomplish a task, to live outside our cities for a while in the forests, next to streams and great lakes of fresh water." "Did you like to go there, Kyrios? Did you miss your mother and father?" "I did miss them at first, but then I made friends. We did many things together, played games, had contests. Looking back on it, I was very happy. But then I had to return to the city and my studies. I often think of those times, dressing up like young warriors and dancing around a fire. I think I felt truly free back then, and when I came back from that place, I was ready to resume my responsibilities." I looked tenderly at Abu. "Abu, did you have a special place?" "Kyrios, my special place is with you. I have nowhere else to go, and where I came from, I have no wish to go back," he said. "Then perhaps, my most admirable child, we are in your special place. Maybe you will look back at this time fondly and remember. Maybe there are more special places to come, although I cannot say." "Kyrios, you sang that long song about some kind of bottles of grog lined up against the wall, and they fall down one by one. I do not understand this. Why wouldn't the master beat his servant for being so careless? How could that be fun?" I chuckled and poked him. "Now it's your turn, Abu. You must know a song or two. When you kept sheep for your uncle and were alone, would you sing to the sheep?" "I did not sing to the sheep, Kyrios, but I did play the flute to them, and they would listen and would become calm and follow me. I was all alone, but they were with me listening, and I felt I was not alone." "Do you have your flute with you now, Abu?" He sat up excited. "I do, Kyrios. I packed it with my things." He fumbled around the interior of the carriage, seeking out his little sack with all the things most important to him. "I found it, master." "Good. Play me some tunes. Play me what you played your sheep, so that I may become calm." I could see Abu in the dim light of the pitching carriage. He looked for all the world like a cherub, and he raised the pan flute to his lips. It was the perfect thing to pass the time. The haunting notes from the hollow tubes produced a beautiful, pitch-perfect melody. It was peaceful, beautiful, uplifting, and restorative all at the same time. He played for a long time, first slow, and then fast, elegant, and then saucy. I found my mind drifting away to visions of green pastures and of quiet waters. I thought of our predicament, and all anxieties eased, and I fell sound asleep. How long we both lay there dreaming peaceful dreams I cannot say, but I woke up with a start. The carriage had ceased its movement. All was still. I went to the window and tried to move the leather flaps to peek outside. I could smell salt air, and I could hear the sound of waves washing up on a beach and seagulls calling close by. I heard a mumbled conversation. I recognized one of the voices as none other than Scarus. The sound of footsteps followed, and then the leather flap covering the door window was thrown aside and rolled up. Scarus stuck his head inside the window. Bright sunlight flooded into the interior. Abu sat bolt upright, fear written all over his face. The intensity of the light hurt my eyes. I put my hand over them to see better. Scarus tried to sound cheerful. Well now, Dominus, sir. 'Tis good to see you've tolerated our little ride, and look no worse for wear. He tried to smile. Scarus, where are we? Where are we going? Why were we taken like this? Where is Sophia? I barked. Now, good sir. Ye be needing me to explain, that's for certain, by Mars, he said. And all will be explained. But first, me gentle sirs, I be needing your word as noble gentlemen, that if I lets ye and the young lad out, ye be making no try to run. We'd be far away from Alexandria, and there ain't nowhere for you to go, believe me, he pleaded earnestly. Fine, I said petulantly. It seems you have me in your power now and at a disadvantage. If I give you my word for now, I do not know what the future will hold. But you must be fair and forthcoming. I am your friend after all. You owe me an explanation. Scarus fumbled with the lock on the door until it opened. Abu and I climbed out, squinting our eyes in the brilliant sunlight. The carriage had stopped near our way station, called a mutationes, and the horses were being unhitched and led to stables. We stood beside the road on a beach. Stretching out before us into the distance was a vast sea, no doubt the Mare Nostrum, known in my time as the Mediterranean. Azure blue waters lapped up against a brilliant white sand beach. The air was filled with the scent of salt water, the rhythmic washing of waves, and the call of seagulls. Scarus was clad in a short tunic belted at the waist, a sword and scabbard slung from a leather strap crossing over his right shoulder, white wool cloak, and his army's sandals, his caligulae. He wore a straw, broad-brimmed hat, sheltering his red face and neck from the beating sun. As he approached me, he took off his hat and flung it aside. He reached for and drew his dagger, hanging off by his side by a belt, and approached me. I looked at him straight in the eye, not sure what his intent was. Scarus stopped within striking distance from me. I looked at him calmly. I had a fleeting thought of running, but stifled my fears. His eyes betrayed him. There was pain and conflict in them. He did not have the look of a man about to kill a captive. He stood for a while, with a dagger in his right hand, breathing heavily. Suddenly, from behind me, Abu called out, "No!" and sprang between me and Scarus, and held his arm out. "No, Scarus!" he shouted. Scarus staggered as if hit by a blow. He fell to his knees and turned the dagger in his hands, holding it out to me, hilt first. He bowed his head. "Me good lord, physician, sir, I done betrayed ye. For this I'm prepared to die. Take me dagger, good sir, and put an end to me," Scarus said hoarsely. I gently pushed Abu aside and grabbed the dagger by the hilt and held it up, looking at it thoughtfully. "I was not brought into this place from a far-off life to end yours, Scarus," I said, throwing the dagger aside where it fell into the sand and stuck, blade first, buried to the hilt. "And unlike you, I do not betray my friends easily. Come, Scarus, on your feet now. Face me, eye to eye." Scarus remained kneeling, his face to the ground. "No, Dominus, sir, I cannot bear to look upon ye. I not be worthy to be your friend after what I done." I reached down and, using all of my strength to force him to his feet, placed my hands on his shoulders. Did you bring us here to kill us, my friend? On whose orders? Why? I have spared your life, but the price is truth in exchange. Out with it. Where are we? Why are we here? Scarus shook his head. No, not to kill ye, but only to bring ye here to this place. Slowly, painfully, out came the details of the plan that had separated me from my life in Alexandria and my love with Sophia, my soulmate. Dominus, physician, sir, I was bound by his sacred oaths to serve the Emperor. By his personal command, Honorius ordered me to bring ye away from Alexandria and see that ye'd never return to the boarded ships at Erisone. I was ordered to bring ye here to the coast of Phoenicia, to wait for them, here at this place. Them? Who is them? I asked. Scarus turned, looking north along the coast road. He raised his arm and pointed. Them. Here they come, down the coastal road. They are coming fast. I followed his gaze and saw, tiny in the distance, and half obscured by mirage, a group of several dozen mounted figures, coming at a gallop down the coastal road. There were flashes of sunlight reflecting off gleaming armor, spear points, and red standards. Following the riders was a herd of a score or more riderless horses, all moving at speed towards us. Who are they? I asked. Scythians, he said. I squinted at the distant war band approaching us. Scythians, I exclaimed. Who? Why? Before they get to your position, sir, I needs to, Scarus sputtered. Confess. I finished the sentence. Yea, confess. I needs to get this off me chest. I'll tell you all there is to know, Scarus began. He then filled me in. Scarus had been commanded to come to the prefecture by Honorius, who reminded him that he was the personal representative of the Emperor. Honorius forced Scarus to repeat his sacred vows of service, sealed with his own blood. Then Honorius swore him to silence about the plan that he was about to disclose. The plan was that I was to be separated from the naval expedition to the Indus. Scarus was commanded to take me away, forcibly if necessary, to the north, along the coast road near Tyre, to await a meeting with the Scythians. I was not to be told, as it was expected that I would not go willingly. Sophia as well was not to be told, as it would have distressed her, and she was needed on the expedition to the Indus. I am honored bound by me oaths and orders, good sir. I have served me Emperor all me life, and never disobeyed. I be begging and pleading with Honorius to relieve me from service, but he be a hard man. 'Tis for the good of the Empire, was all he'd say. But I made him swear an oath that ye would not be harmed, and so he swore it. And he gave me this to give to you, he said, handing me a scroll, which he had retrieved from inside his tunic. To Adamus Julius Aliquis, from Paulus Fabius Honorius, senator and personal representative of Gaius Julius Augustus, princeps of the Senate and people of Rome. Greetings. By the time our loyal Primus Pilatus Marius Cassius Scarus gives you this note, you will be many leagues away from Alexandria. Scarus has his orders, which he is bound to follow, so do not blame him. I have put him in an impossible position. He is as good a man as ever you and I shall meet, and I ask you to forgive him. The Vasilisa Alexia is an important ally of the Senate and people of Rome. As a condition for her help in our plan, she insisted that you accompany her on her long journey to the lands of the Massagetæ, far away. No amount of pleading could dissuade her. I take complete responsibility for not informing you, but you have been conscripted, as it were, for a higher purpose. You are a talented and resourceful person, and I am confident you will make the best of the opportunity. Farewell and good fortune, Adamas. I will offer sacrifices to the gods that we will meet again at the ends of the earth, in Gandhara, in Mangara and Taxila, in the lands of the Indus. May the fates reunite us there. As for Scarus, his service to me and the Emperor is discharged with this important task. He will be well rewarded, and I have sent a reward for you as well with him. I discharge him into your service, if you will have him. I leave it for you to decide, if you wish, to keep him or send him back to Alexandria. It is your choice. I do caution you, however, that Scarus has sworn that, after delivering you to the Vasilisa, he will not aid you to escape. May the gods open your eyes to see the wisdom of it all. Farewell. I looked up at Scarus, who stood, red-faced, still staring at the ground. I crumpled up the scroll and threw the balled-up papyrus with all my strength as far as I could pitch it. I swear on my mother's bones, Scarus, that if I could put my hands around Honorius's noble neck, I would throttle him, I said, demonstrating with my hands. This man has come unbidden into my life and Sophia's without a shred of regret or hesitation and disrupted all of our hopes and dreams. Damn him! What arrogance! I do pray that I shall meet him again, and I swear I will have my revenge. Dominus, sir, but I'm afraid there's more, and I doubts that you'll like it. More? I shouted. He's just ruined my life, dumped me here, God knows where, and just expects me to go along with his little plan? Scarus slowly nodded his head. And like Honorius, never pay the price for what they do. You're right to be mad. So was I. I did not ask for this mission, but I had no choice. And dear physician, neither do you now. Well, now, I shouted, stepping towards him, why don't I just chuck this whole mess back into your lap, Scarus? Go tell your overlord that I refuse. I'll walk away, go over to that city over there, and make my way back home to Alexandria. Excuse us, Dominus, sir, Scarus said sheepishly, shaking his head. But that will not be possible. Not possible? Not possible, I shouted. Why is that not possible, Scarus? I stepped up, facing Scarus, our noses almost touching. Scarus stepped back and scratched his head. Well, good sir, seems to me you've got a couple of problems. First, you must know Sophia has now sailed away. She's gone, so you'd be alone. And then, good sir, you got another problem. The other thing you needs to be told is that she... Scarus turned towards the galloping warband that was now only a short distance from us. Axia Panopleus, she who would be worthy of armor, resplendent in her red silk caftan over gleaming bronze-scaled armor, shining in the sun, drew her horse up abruptly and had it walk slowly towards us. Well, she be expectin' ye to be her husband, Scarus whispered. I stood in stunned silence and watched as Axia, in one fluid movement, stopped her mount, deftly dismounted, and took 2 steps towards us, and stood, tall and dangerous, before me. She looked at me with those liquid, dark, almond-shaped eyes. She was smiling mischievously. She had a short riding crop in her right hand, which she placed under my chin to raise my head so that we looked at each other in the eye. Slowly she circled me, riding crop tracing a circuit around my neck as she walked completely around me, as if inspecting her prey before she would devour it. "Hello, my physician," she said slowly. Then she looked up at Scarus. "You have done well, my friend." She looked back to me with that same devilish, mischievous smile. "Now I shall have you all to myself."
You say you're fine, but I can see right through. You're holding your secrets for way too long. This can't keep going on. With every lie, they keep on hurting you, getting away with everything they do. This can't keep going on. No, we're gonna find them, and I'm gonna fight for you. They better start hiding. We'll be running with the lions, lions. We'll be running with the lions, lions. They can't run, they can't hide. We won't stop until they're down. We'll be running with the lions, lions. Tell me, 'cause I'm looking out for you. This can't keep going on. No, 'cause you're not alone in this. We'll do this together. No, you're not alone in this. No, we're gonna find them, and I'm gonna fight for you. They better start hiding. We'll be running with the lions, lions. We'll be running with the lions, lions. They can't run, they can't hide. We won't stop until they're down. We'll be running with the lions, lions. We're gonna find them. La 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 la. They better start hiding. We'll be running with the lions, lions. We'll be running with the lions, lions. They can't run, they can't hide. We won't stop until they're down. We'll be running with the lions, lions. 'Cause you're not alone in this. We'll do this together. No, you're not alone in this.
All of the following music for Chapter 16 provided by Epidemic Sound. Army of Angels by Edgar Hopp. An Ordinary Day by Descant. I'll Fly Away by Dream Cave. Godsend by Johannes Bornloff. Loyalty by Philip Ayers. Return of Light by Christopher Mo Ditlevson. Myth by Zach Nelson. We Were Encased in Ashes by John Sumner. Sailing for Gold by Howard Harper Barnes. Forest Run by Bonnie Grace. Running with the Lions by Loving Caliber.